Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today we will be finishing the First Amendment. We've already covered speech and press. Today we're doing freedom of assembly. Congress shall make no law abridging the people to peaceably assemble. What does this all mean? Assembly means to gather in a place. And when we talk about assembling, obviously you're talking about three or more people. And there's only two real rules that you must follow that the courts have dictated when you are assembling. And the two are one, to be peaceful, and two, it must have a purpose. So if you think about why people assemble, the easy things are mass at church, going to school, or events. Even protests are legal forms of assembly. But when they turn riotous and are no longer peaceful and vandalism occurs or arson or fighting, then it's an illegal assembly. And the courts have obviously ruled against those people who think that they have the right to do those things when they don't. Now, you are allowed to protest, and protests can be pretty effective. In our history, we've had marches for black rights, we've had protest marches for women's rights, we've had equal opportunity for transgender, gender, gay rights. Any type of right you can think of, people have assembled over. You are allowed to protest. You are allowed to have a parade. And if you think about it, maybe you never did think about this, but Mount Pleasant holds a lot of parades, and you're allowed to be in that parade. You're allowed to assemble and watch the parade. Everyone is entitled to be in that parade. Yes, you heard me correct. Everyone is entitled to be in that parade, which means that towns and cities who issue permits for you to be in a parade cannot deny any group a permit just because they don't agree with them. And towns have been known to cancel parades because certain groups that they don't agree with are going to or have requested permits to be in that parade. If you're in a parade, you are allowed to chant hate slogans. And yes, I know what you can say. You'll say, well, wait a second, you said it had to be peaceful. Well, just because you're chanting hate slogans doesn't mean that that's not peaceful. And of course, gang members have been given the right to assemble based off of court hearings. Even though they don't pose any real purpose, they do say it's for socialization. Now, you cannot protest by throwing rocks and breaking windows. And again, I go back to all the problems that our society has had in the past couple summers. And you'll know that the looting, the burning, that's not covered under assembly. You cannot hang out on someone's private land against their will. That's known as loitering. And of course, laws are in effect for teen curfews. And here I believe your curfew in Mount Pleasant is 10 p.m. For my kids, I believe it's 9 p.m. in the city. So the next right found under the First Amendment is freedom of religion. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And there's two clauses that you need to know with religion, and these are very important for you. The first is the Establishment Clause, and that, of course, is the government shall make or establish no official religion. If you go back to the time of the Pilgrims, and the reason that the Pilgrims left England is because England, the King of England, decided to have an official religion, and the Puritans weren't having any of that. So one of the things that they came here and you're taught at an early age is that America or the United States was founded on the freedom of religion, which is partly true, but not necessarily entirely true. Because if you go back to the Puritans, they tolerated no other religions. So it's kind of, two-sided, two-faced there by those people. But anyhow, so the government cannot establish any religion as an official religion, and we therefore have no official religions. Now, there are hundreds of religions But truthfully, the government pretty much recognizes between 23 and 25 religions. And I say that because if you go through the military, which the government runs, whenever a soldier passes away and they're buried in Arlington, I believe it's between 23 and 25 different religions are recognized to be put on their tombstones. But the one that's not recognized as of yet is, of course, the practice of Wiccan. And the free exercise clause, which I'll go over in a minute, pretty much the summary of free exercise clause is that you are free to exercise whatever religious practices you want to. Now, why do people practice religion? Most of us practice religion based off of what our parents are. And rarely do we ever change that religion unless, of course, we're marrying into with someone who has a different religion and they convince you into choosing or changing your religion. For me, my children have always had the opportunity to explore other religions and then decide what they want to do. Now, let's talk about the Establishment Clause and things that can be done and cannot be done. You can teach about religion in school. I can teach you about various different religions in school. We can talk about religions in school. I cannot promote a single religion. In fact, I may not promote any one religion, which means that I cannot wear a cross on my lapel. I cannot wear a cross as a tie tack. I cannot wear anything that would signify a religious symbol on my person and or body, which means that if I'm teaching and I have a tattoo of Jesus Christ or maybe a cross or Satan or something that's religious in nature, I would have to cover that up by law because a teacher influences their students, and using religion in that manner is not acceptable in the court's eyes, nor would it be in any parent's eyes as well. We as teachers and school administrators do allow you to voluntarily pray in school. However, a coach may not bring their students together or their players together or their team together and initiate a prayer, but students can. Schools, the Supreme Court has ruled, must transport students to their religious schools from within our district. So students who go to GCC or any other religious school must be bused publicly, and that was through the Supreme Court ruling. And we are in class, specifically, let's say if we're in a government class or maybe we're in a world history class, we can read the Bible for culture or literacy content. After all, what is the Bible? It's an earmark of history. It's a piece in which we are looking back at the past of things that have occurred, and that's what history is it not? Things that you cannot do. We cannot set a state religion. We cannot say that Catholicism is the main religion. We cannot say that Protestantism or any of those other religions are the established religion. No government can order a prayer, but it's kind of interesting that the government puts God on money. It's interesting that most all presidents finish their speeches with God bless you. It's interesting that we have the Pledge of Allegiance with the word God in it. And only one document really doesn't have the word God, and that one document would be the Constitution. You cannot teach religious doctrines in school, meaning that we cannot teach one set religion. And of course, you cannot teach creationism, which was allowed at one point, but the Scopes monkey trials back in the 1920s changed all that. So on the test, when you see the question, what is the official religion of our country, you should be smart enough by this point to know we have no established religion. Now, when we talk about free exercise of religion, keep in mind that you are allowed to practice whatever religion you want to. And if that means that you're in school and you have to practice your religion in school, then so be it. There is a case that I'll mention here quickly. A North Carolina teenager was suspended for having a nose piercing and visible tattoos, and it violated the school dress code. However, the student and her parents stated that it was part of their religious beliefs that they get tattooed or have piercings as part of their religion. And when it went to court, the school lost because, yes, there is such a religion out there. And therefore, the schools cannot deny the free exercise of that religion. So let's take a look now of what we can and cannot do with the free exercise of religion. So you are allowed to choose whatever religion you want to. And again, I'll reiterate that most people have their religion based off of their parents. You can lead a prayer in most examples. This is not necessarily the case if you're a teacher. Teachers and coaches both cannot lead prayers. Other students have to. Here at Mount Pleasant, we do have the prayer in front of the flagpole. The teachers are supervisors, but that's the extent of which they are permitted to be there. You are allowed to ask questions in class about different religions or different practices of religions. Possibly there's someone in class who belongs to a different religion, so you want to find out about what their religious beliefs are. You can worship whomever you want. Now, you cannot break the law and claim it's religious belief. An example of this would be here in school. You are required to attend school up to a certain age, and then we'll use the Amish as an example. The Amish, their kids only go to school until the 8th grade. And then grades 9 through 12 are considered their vo-tech period because they're working on the farm. You can't miss school and say that you are working on the farm if you're not a farmer. That doesn't cut it. You cannot raise children without an education. In Pennsylvania, it used to be that you had to be in school by the time you were 8 years old. Well, they changed that this year. And I believe they lowered it to 6. So I think by the age of 6 now, you have to be in school. And of course, you cannot deprive children of basic needs. Now, this is where it becomes a little bit sketchy with the courts because basic needs. What about virus protection? What about having some sort of vaccine? And if you don't believe in medical technology or you don't believe in vaccines, do you allow those kids into school? So keep those things in mind when we're talking about religion. So when in school, there can be conflicting issues regarding freedom of religion, especially when it comes to free exercise and the Establishment Clause. So a student who's in school says to me, Mr. Svidron, can we have an opening prayer before our test? If I say yes, then it looks like I'm establishing a certain religion as an official religion. If I say no, then I am looking like I am denying the student's right to free exercise of their religion. So it can be quite a quandary in school. Keep those things in mind when talking or listening to the different court cases we'll go over. So what if I want to start my own religion? Well, there's only really 3 things that I need to start my own religion. I need tenets, I need an icon, and I need followers. So the tenets could be any book or rules that are established. An icon can be like the statue head that I have here, and then of course followers. So I always say to the kids, I have a set of class rules, and I'm going to start my own religion. I'm going to call it Svidism, and the icon would be a picture of me. Of course, would I have followers to Svidism? Well, there are kids who pray to me every quarter at the end of the quarter, and please, Svid, give me a higher grade. And some of those I answer, and some of those I don't. Well, could that be considered a religion? Well, if you pushed it far enough, yeah, I guess you could, except it wouldn't be legal to have in school. Our last right found under the First Amendment is the right to petition. Congress shall make no law abridging the people to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, obviously, the greatest petition in our history would be that of the Declaration of Independence. That is an example of a petition. So, what is a petition? A petition is a formal request. It is made to a representative and it allows the representative to know what your needs are. So, an example that I give you is that a teacher is an example of a representative to the school district. You make a petition or a request to a teacher, and that teacher, of course, can either answer it or they go higher up to get you those answers. Not all petitions are done on paper. You can do online petitions. However, online petitions are not always recognizable petitions. Petitions need to have signatures, though. Those people who sign it have to back up what they're stating. And that's why petitions are important. And you can petition anything from having a new law to having a new amendment to changing the way the law is. Petitions are used every single day. Now, both speech and petition are integral to the democratic process, although not necessarily in the same way. The right to petition allows citizens to express their ideas, hopes, and concerns to their government and their elected representatives, whereas the right to speak fosters the public exchange of ideas that is integral to deliberative democracy as well as to the whole realm of ideas in human affairs. And that's where we'll stop for today. I know this was a bit lengthy, but we had to cover all 5 rights that are found in the First Amendment. And of course, as you see, had we been in class in a physical location, this would have taken a lot longer because of questions and answers and discussion that goes on.